Yeah, I definitely think that's a fair statement to make when your second pick in your draft is going to be taken away from you. It's definitely going to be a difficult thing to maneuver around, but we'll see how Hami's team is going to be able to react to that. We'll be able to reset the draft on that one. There have been a couple of bugs with the draft on the current update. When it comes to private games, sometimes just doesn't work out. So we'll be able to reset that one. That first ban will be locked in, though, I believe. So
yeah,
I think Silvernail was the first ban.
Somehow, some way, somehow, tripped over a wire, you know.
I mean, somebody at SEMC, there's a ton of names that you could blame. I think maybe one of the esports guys, like leaving a bug in the system.
That's just a glitch in the matrix. We'll be okay. We'll get all back. I think maybe Munch just wanted to be on camera a little longer. The ghost of Nivmet passed.
Either way, yeah, we'll be able to get back to the draft very shortly. I'm curious to see how this one's going to pan out, though, because we had a lot more CP picks in that first draft than I think anyone was expecting coming in, because weapon power has really been the story of the VPL Fantasy All-Stars so far.
Yeah, it definitely has, but at the same time, while like that's what we've been seeing thus far, it feels like this is a meta that's definitely still developing, right? And so people are not scared to take a different route, especially like if they think that, hey, if I pick up this CP hero, it's just actually, it's like literally countering out the ability over here of this guy, or maybe it brings a certain CC to the table that kind of shuts down the mobility of this weapon carry. And if you can just shut down him getting into position, suddenly you shut down everything he brings to the table. So if they can do that successfully, it'll be great for them. But obviously right now, weapon power, tension bows, getting like 3 of those and just going ham, it's been working pretty well for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Just tension bows across the board as a second
not
item.
3 tension bows, but like 3.
Yeah, not stacked across your team. But it's absolutely terrifying. And we saw the damage, the burst damage on the current patch. We saw that in game 1. We saw people just getting popped at the start of fights, and that is going to be a consistent theme. You get punished a lot more heavily in the current update for being out of position, so you have to see that coordination.
Well, we saw Arden banned in game 1, and of course, it's good. I was talking, I don't forget who was in here. It was starting and maybe Hami hanging around, and I was talking to him, and I was like, so what do you guys see as like, what is the heaviest burst damage hero in the game right now? And I was hoping they were going to say CP Ronin. But of course it was Arden that came through, and it was just like, right now you build this weapon Arden out. You can play him in different positions, but out of the jungle right now, which is super cool. And he shows up wherever, and he'll just pop somebody, just burst them down, assuming that he's able to farm and come online.
Yeah, that tension bow plus blood for blood, they proc together, so it's just a huge burst.
It's a lot of damage.
It is terrifying if you're playing a squishy carry and you see that coming towards you.
This is like the moment of tasty bacon. Like, it's like, now we have the weapon Arden. It's in the meta. Yeah. It's the highest burst damage that the pros want to play right now. And get out of here, dude.
He's gone to Canada for some reason.
I see. You're fired, bud.
As if you do. We've got a Finn locked in, as well as a Lance. So instantly, this Lorelei, you assume now, going to be going towards that mid lane, going to be that CP build. And it's incredibly strong right now. We saw it in game number 1 as well, doing a lot of work for Shaded Talent. He was playing it as a captain, but even then, the damage is still pretty crazy. Yeah,
Hami was talking about the Lorelei, and he really likes it specifically just because you can play it in almost any position, in almost any comp. It adds so much to any roster you're going to put it in, so no surprise that Evol is going to go ahead and pick it up there. And it's like, you think about, like, if you have a dive comp, you just drop water wall onto your carry, you got a splash down, suddenly you're able to retreat, you're owning the kind of point that you're fighting around. You have engage, you have damage output if you want it, you have potential stun potential as well, so really versatile hero, and they couple it up right now with the Finn and Lance. Like, this is a super beefy lineup that Evol's putting together, and I think one that actually plays to Evol's strengths. And not only to his actual strengths as a player, but what he brings to the table as far as being a captain and that communication that they were talking about.
Yeah, definitely a game of kind of out-sustain and win the fight that way, as opposed to going straight burst damage. On the counter to that, though, they did just lock in a jewel. So, dude, burst damage will be there.
I mean, this is a good chance we see a CP jewel coming out here, which is really cool, and something we haven't historically, for a few seasons seen much of at all, and for pretty good reasons. So we'll see if that's the route they take here today, but that would make sense. It's really cool. And of course, coming in at the end, we have some more burst damage, your carry potential here.
And the utility as well that Gwen brings to the table. These, when it comes to weapon power carries right now, they all do crazy damage. So it's more about what else they bring to the table.
They have a stun on every single hero that they've drafted up right now. And so, like, as you see, if we see like Finn actually get to that level 8 point where it depends like how he's going to go ahead and build this out. But assuming once you've overdriven your Quibble, you're going to have that area of effects stun, couple that with the lance. Now you can like boom aces high to follow. Somebody's going to die.
Yeah, somebody is going to go down to that kind of chain. And when we have our compositions locked on in, honestly, both squads looking pretty strong, but going very different directions. When we saw the side of Hami, much more damage focused, much more about finishing someone off quickly. Whereas Evol, like you were saying before, a lot of CC and a lot of sustain on that lineup.
Yeah, there's a lot of the, it's a beefy lineup. You know, to go with the synergy of the beefy lineup, your word that you mentioned was sustain. And I think as long as they build that sustain, they've got enough damage out of like at least 2 players on that squad. You slowly move forward, and hopefully they'll be able to take the advantage there. If Hami can burst someone down, though, they're going to flip it around. All
right, well, it's time to jump into game number 2 of the VPL Fantasy All-Stars week number 2. It's going to be Hami going up against Evol and passing it back over to Excoundrel and Dazzle.
Alrighty, guys, game 2 underway of this All-Stars event. Can Team Hami clutch it, or is it going to be Evol taking it home here? Everyone straight into the mid lane to start this battle royale. Come on, go at each other. They won't. Maybe they will.
Is that what you do in Australia? You just sound, go at each other, boys.
Go on, get in it. They're actually just clearing the wave here. So actually, this is Evol's Hami's team just going, we're gonna hard farm this mid lane and then invade all the jungles. We'll
no. What this is they're adapting the Starboys team tactic. They just grouped up around Chuck. They grouped up around Chuck because they knew Chuck was in the mid lane, and they just want to put the fear in Chuck. That Starboy is living on in this competition as the all-in Chuck strategy. But now it looks like they've chilled out now, gone back to their original lanes. It was just a little bit of a message, you know, sending that message to Chuck.
Whew. Speaking of message, Rock Bomber, you going back to base, man. First blood comes through for Chuck, and he is on the leaderboard.
Actually, I have to praise Evol's team. They did a really funky draft where they took the Lorelei, which is classically a pretty decent pick into Finn in the mid lane, and then they took the Finn as well. So they got 2 power picks, of which you could flex Lorelei into multiple situations, including top lane, and then just decided to run with the CP Lorelei in the mid lane because, as we've said before, she's an alternating current carry user as well. She is someone who makes use of CP basic attacks and actually is pretty strong in her own right on this update. I really like what they did in the draft here on Evol's team.
I mean, Chuck is really good at Lorelei as well. I've seen his Lorelei. It is devastating. So excited to see it come through. When I did see that jewel come through, though, I was like, is this the return of Chuck's jewel? I remember the times when he kind of just dominated NA with it, but it seems like Neon Fire is going to take it up to the top lane. We'll have to see how he actually fares against this 2v1 lane. Ooh, damage in the mid lane. Not going too ham. I thought that may have been a fight breaking out. That's a very, very low Adagio. Not really the sight you want to see. Cos is here. They actually want Hami. He's not got his B. He can't go in. That's going to hit him going down. Oof. And the auto attack almost finding the kill into the Adagio as well.
That is a disgusting combo, by the way. If you land that stun from Chuck, going straight into either an Impale or a Quibble from the Finn, that is very, very difficult to get out of in the early game, and it's a huge amount of damage as well. Archaic now on the Arden. It's going to face check here.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be all right. Can the rest of this team secure this jungle is the question. They want these doubles, lots of gold. They're going to split them. Crystal Treant spawns as well, and it is going to be Hami's team grouping up to make sure they get that. Of course, Chuck can move in and try and steal it. Won't be able to quite snipe it away here. And so far, so good for Team Evol. I mean, he's got Louis. How could he lose?
Yeah, they got Louis, best player in North America. You know, there's no way that their team actually comes out on the losing end here. Whoa! Lulu manages to snipe that away somehow. And Chuck actually coming out on the short stick here. Very little energy to work with. And actually, we'll have to end up going back to base soon, too.
I mean, best boosted NA right there. What a lad he is on this Lorelei. Won't live that one down. Starboy is going to be tweeting about it for the next 24 hours. And at this point, it's all starting to calm down just a little bit here. But, I mean, so far, Evol's team has shown up strong. And like you said, this draft pretty powerful.
I mean, they were just so flexible in their draft picks. I do kind of worry. I think Jewel is a good pick on the current meta, but she doesn't really do too well in team fight situations, especially in 5v5, because although she's got huge damage reduction, they basically changed it to a flat 35% damage reduction as opposed to just giving her loads of armor and shielding. She also really struggles versus hard CC. So you're going up into a Maline, an Adagio, an Arden, a Kinetic Stun as well as also the Yates. She's going to struggle in a team fight situation. So unless she's going to be a pure distraction for the Gwen and Chuck on the Lorelei, I struggle to see what kind of impact Neon Fire is going to have on this duel other than strictly split pushing. I actually think if we get into a true 5v5 scenario, I do actually favor Hami's team because I think they've got the better 5v5 overall, simply because their consistent damage output, in my opinion, as the game goes on, is a bit better. So I think the win condition for Chuck's team comes a little bit more from a split push variant or snowballing from the mid game with that Gwen.
We'll have to see if they're able to do that. I mean, you're definitely right. There's a lot more consistent factors here on the side of Hami's roster, especially with that kinetic. If she can provide that sustained damage from the backline, then she's going to be a devastating sight. So far, it does seem like the pressure is on, and Evol's team is bringing it. Kozen outplayed, able to find that bot turret, able to take away the Treant as well. It's going to be answered with Lulu taking down the top side turret as well. And now things start to group up around the mid lane. Neon Fire, Chuck and Evol trying to secure their Crystal Treant against the approaching Hami squadron. Trying to steal that one away. Lulu sniped it away last time. I'm not sure he's going to be able to this time. Here comes an engage! Here comes the CC! Here comes the damage! It's disgusting! Everyone's dying! And it's going to be Hami and everyone going back to base. Archaic going to run and split up the fight, but it's all over before it even started. That's going to be everyone on the side of Hami's team dying, and just as the Ghostwing spawns.
That was disgusting. That combo right there, perfectly timed at the level 6 of Evol, and they're going to get the Ghost Swing off the back of it as well. That was just a pure CC chain coming out from Evol's team. They planned that really well, and I talked about Jewel in the teamfight situation, actually going down the CP build path, which is much, much better in the teamfight. You're there purely for an ultimate, and with the amount of CC that you can actually throw down, those ultimates actually could be really impactful, especially in clumped up areas like in those jungles like you just saw there and around the dragon pits. The Jewel ultimates can actually get a lot of work done. So Neon going down the CP build path here for Jewel is actually going to be much better for team fight scenarios, coupled with the the Finn stun, with the Impale, with the stun coming out from both Louis and also Chuck. With the right setup, this is a devastating team fight to play against.
The Wombo combo is real from Evol's team here. If the captain can set it up, then the rest of the team can follow. There's always been the issue of Wombo combo is Scoundrel, is if you play around it, if you're able to calculate it, time it, to avoid it, then all of a sudden that win condition's gone. Hami's team going to have to be playing pixel perfect if they want to be able to avoid these pulls from Evol.
And remember, Finn is so good on this update because the Crucible cooldown has gone up and Finn's hook cooldown has stayed the same. So actually you are much more likely to find a team fight where you can force a Crucible with your ultimate and then just wait for your ultimate to come back up, knowing that their Crucible will not be ready to go. So that makes Finn really impactful in team fights as well. Plus the fact that a lot of supports right now tend to be rushing the fountain. So there is a big period in the mid game where Finn can actually get free pulls off and not many people can deal with it. Like this.
Like that. Holy moly. That's going to be Archaic going down in just a second. You would seem, but maybe they're turning it around. Cause has to get the Lorelei shield to keep himself alive. And so all of a sudden, Hami's team showcases that they have the power to hold off here. They got the shield and the healing, and Hami's got the damage. Maybe they can hold this one together. Outplayed though. He's currently getting destroyed by Rock Bomber. Louis Vuitton, what was that? We won't talk about it, mate. It's okay, no one saw it.
Well, I mean, if you get stuck into a 1v1 versus a Yates, it's actually quite difficult for the Gwen because Yates' hard CC locks her down. She's only got one way to escape the CC with her B. And actually, I actually max B on the weapon power Gwen. I actually just think having the off cooldown more often is better. And I don't actually think you get much from maxing your A because the weapon power ratios are not the best in the world. So I actually end up maxing B on weapon power Gwen just for these kind of situations where you might need it a bit more. But regardless, even if you max it, you're not going to get it off cooldown as quickly as you need to versus a Yates. So that is something that Gwen always has to be aware of. And actually, good solo kill there from Rock Bomber.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh, he doesn't get it, actually. Not yet. Oh, misses the A as well. Lulu not going to be able to find the kill onto Neon Fire there. It was pretty close. Played it down to the wire. Right now, things are holding on for the side of Team Hami. Evol's squad here has the gold in their advantage. They got the wombo combo and the ability to execute it here. It's really just a question of when will Evol pull the trigger here, because the CC lock that they have, as well as that AoE damage that comes from a CP jewel that Neon Fire can throw out, is pretty gross. Ghost Wing's back on the map as well, Scoundrel, so there are objectives to fight over here, especially that mid turret as well. Evol's going to be moving on in to try and pressure on Hami.
They're going to go for this mid lane tier 1, and I think the slow response coming out from Hami's team means they will not be able to deal with it very easily. And now they can set up for a Ghost Wing, having taken that mid lane turret. Neon working his way down towards the pit. It doesn't look like Lulu is actually going to move at this point in time, so I feel like this is going to be a free Ghost Wing now going over to Evol's team.
Yeah, and you have to be so careful as well that Finn can just initiate the team fight. Not going to quite land it. Oh, was that a Crucible used? I believe it was.
It was.
Hami is now in trouble as well. He's going to be the target. Yeah, he's avoiding the CC. He gets locked against the wall, though. The burst is there, surviving, turning it back on his head. Here comes Rock Bomber to re-engage. Lulu's lost his life, but there's the Arden Gauntlet laying down the fight. Doesn't matter. AoE from Evol's team, too strong. And it's only Rock Bomber left alive, stunned up, trying to run. But can he run forever? No, he can't. Hami's team falls before his eyes, and now he has to protect his lane.
That was the mistake that was made right there. The Crucible, well, not even a Crucible actually, it's a reflex block, mate. He didn't even have the Crucible finished. So at this point in time, Finn still has that big mid-game presence that we talked about. And not many people prioritize reflex blocks early on in this current meta because it is so important to invest in those damage items as quickly as you can. Wow, really, really nice fight coming out. And also the fact that everybody was just booting in to make sure they got into a situation where they could then isolate Lulu and Hami, who were grouped up in their red side jungle. Really good stuff coming out from Evol's team. They've solidified themselves a really solid advantage to work with here. Do want to point out, by the way, the build coming out from Lulu, something that I was talking about to you before the stream started. We were talking a little bit about the merits of Tension Bow versus Bonesaw, and I said I don't think Bonesaw is that bad on ranged weapon power carries that really do rely on attack speed. It looks like Lulu is trying the build out here with Serpent's Mask Tension Bow, and I actually think that's a really good frontline shred build, and versus a Finn especially, might come out really useful.
Yeah, I think you just need to get that sustained damage that the Breaking Point can provide if you really want to be able to start doing the damage, because right now it is a fairly low damage build with just the Serpent Mask to add to your power here. Lulu gonna have a lot of pressure on his shoulders, I feel, here to actually get that sustained damage, and it's gonna take a while to do it. I think Evol's knows that this is a point where they have the power. They can rush this Blackboard down. There's nothing really that Team Hami can do about it. In fact, they're not even contesting. They decided to go for a turret in the bot lane instead. So this is free. And now, once they get this turret in the bot lane, they're going to have to recall, go back to base, and try and defend the barrage that Team Evil is going to bring.
I actually think that was a smart move coming out of Hami's team. They realized that their team fight situations, they're just purely outclassed in terms of damage spike at this point in time. And so they knew the only thing that they get on trade was going to be a turret. So at the end of the day, if they take down Blacklaw, only losing their mid lane armory turret, they've made a 1-for-1 turret trade, and they get the Blacklaw gold as well. So it's actually not the worst thing in the world, even if it seems bad. As long as they can protect their armory, which Blacklaw going down so quick, they might be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, Lulu has a lot of damage with that Bonesaw with the Serpent's Mask. Here comes that dual ult, not really getting any damage down. This is going to be the Black Claw pretty much taken down fairly quickly. The Armory might lose its life, though. Hami is forced to use his B pretty quickly. Gauntlet laid down, just a defensive one. That's going to be the engage onto Cos. Neon Fire dives on in. Good S's high locks up, and now they're retreating. Can Evo get out is the question. Holding the fort line, and now he has to retreat himself. Looks like everyone is going to be able to escape here nice and safely. Black Claw secures the Armory turret and the Armory itself. Not a bad trade for Team Hami. They're still in this.
Yeah, I mean, they lose the armory, which honestly, I think was going to be inevitable with the massive aggressive push coming out from Evol's team, but it's not the worst in the world. That Black Claw could have very easily spelt the end of the game if they weren't careful. Actually, I want to point out how much damage Lulu was doing with this particular build. He was shredding. Once he built up those Bone Saw stacks, he was doing a lot of damage on just 2 items. So you do have to respect the damage output that Kinetic can have with this particular build.
Yeah, absolutely. With Archaic as well, the tension bow building in towards that heavy steel, and Yates as well. So there's a lot of frontline burst damage that could be provided from the side of Team Hami. If Hami himself, as well as Luluzio, can be on that backline providing the sustained burst that their 2 heroes can do, then they're not too shabby. Outplayed, well, he's in trouble. This is going to be everyone diving onto the Gwen here, and there's not much she can do. Dead Orino, Pogaccino is what comes out of that. Ghostwing now looking like a potential target, but no, Hami's team going to play things safe. Instead of going 2-hand, they are going to allow that Ghostwing to stay a little bit longer.
They actually just split their pressure here. They've left a couple of people in the bot lane to deal with Ghostwing, and they've put Rock, Bomber, and Hami back towards the mid lane to deal with that. Now, Rock can head towards the top lane. 10 seconds, he's going to have that ultimate. So that's one of the beautiful things about Yates. He's able to have cross-map pressure just from the fact that he has a global ultimate that allows him to dive into the front line at any given time. Archaic does have to be careful here.
Yep, he gets ruined up, he gets stunned up, he gets taken on down. And here comes Rock Bomber with the Iron Mandate, trying to turn this fight around. Can Evol hold them all off is the question. Hami and Luluzio definitely provide a bit of trouble, but the rest of Evol's team is here, and they're not going to go too deep. Team Hami, they're scared of the damage that Outplay will bring. That's just going to turn things around. So with that catch onto Archaic, this is a fairly free Ghostwing, and it's just spelling closer and closer to the disaster that Team Evol's team wants to bring to Hami.
I'm a little confused as to why Lulu backed off there. A lot of the CC had been used, and she was dealing insane damage to Cos on the front line. I actually think they could have committed to just a little bit harder in that situation, and they might have been able to come away with a really powerful team fight in their favor. Do understand the need to be careful. You don't want to throw, but I think there was cause to allow Luluzio a bit more freedom in that fight, and I think he could have been just a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I definitely know that Lilu, at this moment, is just trying his best to get the gold, to find that breaking point, get it online so that they really do have that sustained ramp up in a fight that Lulu's Kinetic can bring at this point. But time is not necessarily an ally of the side of Team Hami. Yeah, if they can hold off Evol's team, then sure, but it's not something that they can essentially rely on. As soon as Evol's team wants to, they can move on in with that Finn, lay down the Force Accord. Here it comes, in fact. They want this. That's going to be the Gauntlet to try and split it up. Great Crucible does block up the Force Accord. Jules' ultimate, though, doing a lot of damage there. The big red button thrown out. And now, potentially, with the fountain already burnt, Black Claw could be a bait for a further fight if Team Evol want it. They start up the Black Claw. They pull in the Adagio. Look at the damage coming out. That is 1 kill already for them. Looks like Team Hami wants his mid lane tower, but can they get out alive is the question. Luluzio, the main target of Chuck, and he is isolated. He's going to get taken on down. He's not even going to be able to trade a kill. All 3 of these members trying to escape. Team Hami has to try and get back to base. It looks like they're going to be able to. Great usage of the Fog of War to escape, but it does mean Black Claw once more will be taken by Evol.
Yeah, I just feel like Shamu, he used that fountain very early on there. I don't think anyone was going to go down to that dual ultimate, but it meant that the fountain and crucible advantage lied heavily with Evol, and when you have that kind of item advantage in a team, you want to make sure you abuse it. I'm not really sure what Archaic and Hami are doing here.
They're going ham. Let's see if they can get it. Rock Bomber's coming in to try and provide. Archaic's pretty low already. Can Hami lay down the damage? Nah, it doesn't seem likely. That's going to be a dead Arden and a Black Claw pushing on into the base. Seems like it's curtains for Team Hami here as Team Evol move on in. The stun lands onto Shamu. Rock Bomber trying to be the front line that his team needs, but he's just going down. Evol pulls everyone in. That's going to be Luluzio, not where he wants to be. Hami goes down as well. Only Shamu left alive, not for long. Double kill comes through for Chuck, the ace, and the game for Team Evol.
Finn, 100% win rate right now. He is just the most broken hero in Vainglory. And unfortunately, Hami's team can't get the job done. A bit more of a dominant victory, although ultimately a similar time frame. But it looked very, very, very much more in the favor of the side of Evo, and they pick up their win here.